Just in breaking news, Bitcoin just crossed over 40,000 for the first time since May of last year. This makes Bitcoin up 140% year to date. Last year, when Bitcoin was at this $40,000 price level, that was before all the crypto scandals and the bear market, not only in cryptocurrency, but in the stock market, based on the Federal Reserve's rapid interest rate hikes in order to combat inflation. But now with Bitcoin at 40,000, the main reason Bitcoin's over 40,000 now is that Bitcoin's starting to become an accepted asset class. We have BlackRock and Fidelity in talks with the SEC to approve their spot Bitcoin ETFs. And as of now, it looks like the window of that happening is likely to be between January 5th through January 10th. And there's a lot of optimism for that, especially because once that happens, it'll be easier for institutional and sovereign wealth fund money to flow into the space, especially ahead of the Bitcoin halving in April of next year in 2024, which is a supply shock. So increased demand with decreased supply will likely bring Bitcoin even higher, in my opinion. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin hit 100,000 next year. It's possible it could go higher, but based on history and historical patterns on the cycle, I wouldn't be surprised if it hit 100,000. And then this coming week, we have a few different things for the markets as catalysts. We have ADP payrolls, we have JOLTS job opening data, we have ISM manufacturing non-PMI data, we have consumer sentiment data, and most importantly, we have the jobs and unemployment report on Friday, and that's especially the jobs and unemployment report number. We'll see how strong the labor market is, and that'll be a very important factor in the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision and meeting for the following week. Right now, it looks like the Federal Reserve is likely paused for raising interest rates. They're not going to specifically say it, but pretty much, especially the markets are really pricing in that the Fed is paused, and they're thinking that the Fed might have up to 5 rate cuts next year. The Federal Reserve won't say that explicitly, but that's some good news. But the jobs and unemployment report coming out on Friday will be very important to see if Jerome Powell will talk that down. Well, pretty much, he might say that the market's getting ahead of itself in these rate cuts because they really want to fight inflation and they have to be sure that inflation's under 2%. He might push back against the market, but we have to see if that does happen. That could be a little bit of a risk in the short term for the stock market and cryptocurrency markets. Bitcoin could drop below that 38,000 support level if that happens temporarily. But I think the market is slightly ahead of itself temporarily, but I think it'll be into year end, kind of like a zigzag. We might have a little bit of downward momentum for a few days. And then with the jobs and unemployment report, I think the market will go up a little bit. And then with the Federal Reserve meeting, the market might go down a little bit temporarily, but ultimately I think will go higher into year end, at least from these levels. But I wouldn't be surprised, like I mentioned earlier this year, in January, that the S&P 500 would hit the all-time high from the beginning of last year, which would be about that 4,800 level.